I didn't set out wanting to do anything with homelessness. I was stepping over homeless people. I didn't want anything to do with them. I thought they made bad decisions and they got what they deserved. Would you guys like some lunch? How you doing?
Thank you.
God bless you. Oh, I have Subway too. Do you like Subway?
Did something happen that made you look at the homeless people differently?
We ended up having the whole world pulled out from under us. You know, we lost everything. I lost the company, lost my house, lost cars, lost all of my money, lost all of my property, all of my great stuff, you know. It made me very sick. I got very, very sick. I couldn't speak. I was in terrible pain. I was in and out of consciousness. You know, they didn't know if I was gonna make it. And you may not have believed in God before, but now you're praying with all your might to God, please let me live. If you're real, reveal yourself, you know, like save me. And then I'll be your guy. Whatever door you ask me to walk through, I will walk through it. God showed up, big time. It was like, whoa. So then I was like, you're real, and I'm in big trouble, because I'm kind of a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, I had changed my life.
Did something happen that made you look at the homeless people differently?
Well, I would say there was a series of things that happened, I think, that caused, it wasn't just homeless people. It caused me to look at everyone differently. We went through, this was back, I mentioned I was in finance. This was back in 2006, 2007. Was doing very, very well. I had a media marketing company, and I was president of a national finance company as well. And we had the whole mortgage debacle, and arrogantly I thought, well, even if the finance company fails, I still have the media and the marketing company. I did radio and television advertising and, you know, web-based advertising and stuff. And I thought that would protect us. And I had lots of money. I had lots of money in the bank. I felt like I was not untouchable, but I felt like we were fine, you know. And we ended up having the whole world pulled out from under us. You know, we lost everything. I lost the company, lost my house, lost cars, lost all of my money, I lost all of my property, all of my great stuff, you know. And both companies failed, you know, because there was, my top 10 clients were related in some way to finance or mortgage, you know what I mean? There was a reason. And, you know, people didn't have the money. They were, you know, if you were selling pools, you know, suddenly people weren't putting in pools. You know, it was a different deal. So all those clients, they, one after another, you know, they reneged basically. They stopped paying. You know, a lot of the times we would be on 30-day, 60-day, 90-day net. You know, so I book $300,000 in media, and then you don't pay, and after 3 months, it's $600,000. You know, I was on the hook for millions of dollars at that time. You know what I mean? It was very stressful, very, very stressful, and at the same time, just having no money come in, you know, while you're just bleeding out. You know, it was pretty brutal. And at that same time, during all this, my wife, you know, she wants to start going to church, you know, and we were. I was raised Irish Catholic. My wife's Mexican Catholic. She didn't want to be Catholic any longer. You know, she didn't feel like we had a strong relationship with God, and she wanted to try something new. So she wanted to try a different church. I'd never been in a different church before, but you know, as your wife, you go along with what your wife wants. So she was dragging me to church every Sunday, and I was not enjoying it, and I was trying to come up with good reasons not to go every weekend. You know, every Sunday morning I'd come up with some excuse. Oh, I'm going to clean the backyard. You go. I'll see you when you get back. Just not interested in it. Not interested in the people that were there. This is
at the time you're losing everything.
Same time, yeah. I got to work. I don't have time for this. You know, that kind of thing. And these folks, you know, my wife just kept pushing and prodding, and I wanted nothing to do. I wasn't learning people's names. I didn't want nothing to do with these people. And there came a time when the stress of it all, it made me very sick. At that time, I got this thing on my vocal cords. I was still, again, filled with pride, filled with arrogance, in that I thought, okay, the finance companies failed. The marketing company is still going, but you know, it's under duress. It's really tough. I could always just be hired as a CEO or president of another company because I can lead really well. And what you forget is that you need your voice to lead. And I had this thing, and I didn't want to go to the doctor, and I was struggling. It was harder and harder to swallow, And then all of a sudden it got to the point where one morning my wife was like, "You have to go to the hospital." And on the way to the hospital, it got to the point where I could hardly breathe. It was closing my windpipe. It had grown so much. So we got in there, they found this thing. They didn't know what to do. They put me on IV antibiotics. Couldn't speak. I was in terrible pain. They put me on an IV drip of Dilaudid, really powerful drug for pain. And I was just, for weeks, months, I was in and out of consciousness. They didn't know if I was going to make it.
Wow.
I lost 30, 40 pounds or something.
Wow.
And I remember I was in hospital bed. I would wake up. My wife would be there, my children would be there, and I couldn't speak to them. For a while, I was strong enough to write stuff, but then after that, I wasn't strong enough to even communicate. So they would just be there for a little bit, and then from the Dilaudid, it was so powerful, I would just pass out, and then I'd wake up, it'd be the middle of the night, I'd be all alone in the hospital, and then I'd wake up to be the next day, my father, see my mother, someone would be there, and I'd pass out. It was just kind of that. And in that moment, being with yourself alone, I was doing a lot of what we call a foxhole prayer. When you're in the foxhole and the bullets are flying, and you may not have believed in God before, but now you're praying with all your might to God, "Please let me live." I was doing a lot of that. It was a lot of foxhole prayers. Please, Lord, if you're real, reveal yourself. Save me. And then I'll be your guy. Whatever door you ask me to walk through, I will walk through it. So that was very profound. This was a very big deal, and they had flown in a different specialist, transferred me from St. Joe's to Saddleback Hospital, and this guy took over. And about that time, and during those foxhole prayers, and I got better. I got better just in time to come home and have the notice on my door that my house had been foreclosed on.
Wow.
Right. And then I was so weak I couldn't lift up this cup, and we had to move, and it was just very traumatic. My poor wife with all our little kids trying to pack boxes, and I couldn't help. I was wrapped in a blanket, just kind of couldn't even move really much. And it came moving day. We had luckily I found a place for us to move, and I had no job, lost my companies. I luckily had squirreled away some money to get us to the next, but this was before foreclosure was fashionable. Nobody would even rent to us. I had to pay someone off to rent me a house. It was brutal. And it was like we went from this house to this house to this house to this, over time, that's a bigger story. But I was sitting there on my porch praying to God to, "Oh Lord, show up and save me." Like my poor wife, we have this huge house and all this stuff, and moving trucks are here and no one's helping. There's no one here to help. And she's doing this like all by herself. And right about the time I said that prayer, all these people showed up. It's like all these cars just started rolling down the cul-de-sac and started helping, packing things, moving things.
Is it your friends? Or?
No, it was all those dang people from the church that I had been so not kind to.
Wow.
The people that I had not been very nice to the whole time. They just parachuted onto my lawn, moved everything. Took my kids to school, brought us meals, did everything. It was crazy. It was very overwhelming. Even now it makes me teary-eyed thinking about it. God showed up big time. It was like, whoa. So then I was like, oh man, well, you're real and I'm in big trouble because I'm kind of a jerk. You know what I mean? I got to change my life. You know what I mean? I'm so selfish and I'm focused on all the wrong things, So it was just, that was the moment, I think, really, where it was like, I was like, oh gosh, I have to change my life. I have to, I'm in big trouble. I gotta change my life. And that was and there was baby steps after that, training wheels, and then the homeless thing was, seeing those people differently. That's when that all started to happen. It was the scales were removed from my eyes. I could see suddenly.
Anybody can be there, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that was a big part of it too. It's like, you know, he who's been forgiven much loves much, you know, and I needed to be forgiven for a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? It was this grace that I was given, this incredible grace, miraculous grace that was just poured over me. And so much so that it was overflowing, that I needed to give it out or I was going to explode, you know what I mean? Like I had just been given such a gigantic gift, or gifts, you know, so many. And I could suddenly see things clearly, and it was like, oh gosh, I got to go out and I got to go help my brothers and sisters as best I can with whatever I can do. I got to start somewhere. I can't just use the excuse of, oh, that's such a big problem. Someone ought to do something about that. You know what I mean? I was like, now it was like, oh, well, I'm someone. I should do something about that. You know what I mean? Like, no one's doing anything. I better do something, you know? And it was like, so it was just making that decision too, to act, you know, to not be afraid, to step into the gap, to go, all right, I might not be qualified. I might not have all the resources in the world, but it's like the journey of 1,000 steps. It begins with one, right? I have to just take one step. Like, so maybe I can't save everyone, but maybe I can save this guy, you know? And that was how it started. That was really how it started. It was just going out, making mistakes, you know, and you know, stumbling forward though, and not coming off the path, you know, consistently going forward.
So what was it like? You said you figured out that people sometimes wanted to take advantage of you, and
sure, yeah.
What was it? What was the point where you figured out that how to mitigate that, or was there a point where you realized this is not working? You're just giving things to people.
Oh yeah. That was a huge epiphany later too. Like after probably.
I was very fascinated with this story, as Zach told us how he found out giving food to the homeless was not the only solution, and he found other ways to help them. You can watch this full episode on Ganjin World or Epoch TV. We have a link below for you, and it's going to be free of any charge. And in the future, we're going to have exclusive episodes on Ganjin World and Epoch TV every week. I'm Siyamak, and this is California Insider.